Hello everyone and welcome to this next video lecture. In this video lecture I want to show you how to conduct a mediation while using structural equation modeling. And if we just finished with the other video lecture, the previous video lecture, then we ended on estimating the direct paths, the structural paths, moving from social support to predict in-role and extra-role performance. You see here that I have now made performance into a second-order factor, just like social support. So it's a bit different. I now have a theoretical model where in-role and extra-role performance are two latent first-order factor indicators on a second-order construct called performance. So because I want to use only one dependent variable to show you how to conduct simple mediation. So we have actually 4 steps in mediation. I could show you the slides. Let's see. Oh, a lot of info. So step 1 would be to estimate the direct effect of the independent variable or the exogenous variable, as it is called in structural equation model, on the dependent or the endogenous variable. And I showed you that standardized estimate was 0.56. Actually, the standardized estimate comes from this model. So here you see 31% of performance is explained by support, and actually the standard estimate is 0.56, and this estimate is significant. We can also look at it. Variable in the list estimates. So here we have support on performance. It has an unstandardized coefficient of 1.122, standard error of 0.149. So if you divide the two, you have a t-value of 7.513. So this is significant, of course, because it's higher than 1.96. And okay, you can look at squared multiple estimates. So you see here that 31% of the variance is explained by performance, which is actually just the square of the standardized coefficient. So we ended here. And it's important to remember that this is the first step in mediation. So let's go back to the slides. Oh. The first step of mediation. What we want to do now is include work engagement as a mediator. So work engagement is actually a motivational state which is indicated by high levels of vigor, dedication, and absorption. So you could say that when there are more resources, for instance, when people receive more social support, they will become more motivated, as indicated by higher levels of work engagement. And actually that higher level of work engagement can explain why people perform better, and it can also explain why social support has a positive direct effect of performance. And in this case, you would expect that the direct effect we just saw from going from social support to performance would be mediated by work engagement as a mediator. And so actually we talk about full mediation, or we mention full mediation when the direct effect from social support and performance will turn insignificant when including the mediator into the model. But you can also have a situation where social support still has a direct effect on performance, but this direct effect is reduced by introducing the mediator to the model. And in that case, we talk about partial mediation. So let's go to Amos. And I already drew the indirect effects model. So here I have performance, but I did not include the direct effect. So I just first want to see whether or not social support is significantly related to engagement and whether or not work engagement then in turn is significantly related to performance. So when we run this model, and as you can see, I estimated engagement by 3 observed variables being vigor, dedication, and absorption. Now, let's look at the second step of mediation. So social support should have a significant and positive effect on work engagement. And actually, this is the case because it's the standardized coefficient is 0.48. And then in turn, work engagement should have a positive and significant effect, or not a positive, but only a significant effect on performance. In this case, it is a positive effect of 0.53 in this. So what you can see is here that social support is significantly and positively related to engagement, and in turn, engagement is significantly related to performance. Of course, you should not only look at the standardized estimates, but also at the t-values. The t-values can be found in the Amos output if you click estimates. So here you see that social support, this is the unstandardized and standardized error, and the t-value has a significant effect on engagement, and engagement has a significant effect on performance. And with these two variables, t-values, you can already conduct a Sobel test, which is a test you can use to find out whether or not there is indeed an indirect effect going from social support to performance via work engagement. So we can go to, for instance, there are all kinds of websites that can do the Sobel test for you. So here you have an input of t-values from the independent to the mediator and from the mediator to the dependent variable. And you can just fill out t-value. So from support to engagement, we have a t-value of 7.95. 7.95, and we have a t-value of 10.016, so 10.02, and we can calculate the Sobel test. And we see here the statistic of the Sobel test, and there are also other tests associated with the Sobel test, shows a p-value of 0 actually, and a high test statistic of 6.22. So actually you can see here we have a significant indirect effect or mediation effect from social support to work engagement, and in turn from work engagement to performance. Okay, this is one way of looking at mediation. What you can also do now, you have now an indirect effects model, and you can also see whether or not this model fits best to your data. So we have here modification indices, which are interesting. They are pretty good. GFI TLI above 0.90, RMSE below 0.08. But of course we can ask for modification indices. I already did that. And what's interesting is when you look at the modification indices here, it actually suggests here the direct effect from support to performance in order to reduce your chi-square, right? So you can see here it will probably increase your model fit. So let's do that. So we enter again the direct effect from support to performance. Let's make it pretty. Run the analysis. Okay. Now, what we can see here is that the effect is 0.42. So remember, in step 1, we found a standardized coefficient of 0.56. This standardized coefficient is now reduced to 0.42 when taking into account engagement. Okay? If we look at the outputs, the estimates, then we can see that here this direct effect support from support to performance, so this one, is still significant. Yeah? 6.31, significant. But we can conclude that from the Sobel test, we can conclude, okay, there is mediation going on. The direct effect, however, is still significant. So in this case, I would say we talk about partial mediation, right? If the effect here in this model would be non-significant, the direct effect from social support to performance, we would talk about full mediation. So, and actually you can see that the fit indices have increased somewhat. Of course, the chi-square has diminished as suggested. And you can actually also look at the differences between chi-squares from the previous model and the next model. I put that on a slide actually here. So if you have only the indirect model, meaning that you do not include the direct effect from social support to performance, you have this chi-square, and when you include both the direct and the indirect effects, all of the effects, your chi-square goes down, and you can actually calculate the difference, the chi-square difference, and submit the chi-square difference test, and this test shows that you have a significant increase in model fit. So you can also look at it from a model fit perspective and say a model which includes both the indirect and direct effects leads to the best model fit. So this is the model that fits best to the data. And then of course you should also make sense out of it in theoretical terms. So engagement like motivation could mediate the relationship between support and performance of employees, but there could also be maybe other indicators or other mediators, right? So, but then you go back to theory. What was your theoretical model? What did you predict? What do you find here? And then you report those findings and speculate about either confirming a theoretical model, or maybe you come to the conclusion that your theoretical model has to be refined. Okay, so I hope this was useful, and we move on to the next video.